Welcome to the Get Out Swim podcast, where we discuss all aspects of competitive swimming. I'm Seamus T. Quinn, and I'm a former Division I swimmer and current college and age group swim coach. Today, my guests include 4 Division III NESCAC conference coaches. Combined, these men have amassed over 100 years of head coaching experience, highlighted by achieving numerous NESCAC and national accolades, including mentoring both individual and team champions, All-Americans and academic All-Americans, and being recognized as some of the best coaches amongst their peers. Throughout their tenure, they've also helped mentor one another, formed friendships, and shared some unforgettable moments, including, of course, one unbelievable get-out swim. So without further ado, enjoy my conversation with 4 NESCAC coaching legends. Well, thank you all for joining us on the very first episode of the Get Out Swim podcast. I'm your host, Seamus T. Quinn. Today, we're joined by 4 legendary Division III NESCAC coaches. We got Marc Benvenuti, Adam Hoyt, Don Megerle, and Peter Solomon. So, gentlemen, thanks for taking the time to be here.
Thanks, Seamus.
Yep. Awesome. All right. So, for those that are listening in and don't know much about our coaches here, I'll start by having each of you introduce yourself and your connection to the NESCAC conference. Don and Adam, I'll start with you.
This is my 53rd year at Tufts. The first 33, I was a men's swimming coach. Left Tufts to go back to New York, but I was asked to stay on and coach our marathon team. And shortly before I did that, I hired this wonderful human being. And as I publicly tell everyone and anyone, it's the best thing that Nancy and I ever did at Tufts University. Now I coach our marathon team, and I'm going to hopefully figure this out for the next podcast.
This is my 20th year at Tufts, 2001 graduate of Hamilton College, and spent 3 years at Trinity College as their assistant coach, graduate assistant.
All right, we'll keep the Brady Bunch picture going here. So Peter Solomon, 29 years in the NESCAC. I have the unique perspective of having worked at 3 different universities, colleges in the NESCAC. So started off at Amherst College back in '93, spent 4 years there before moving up to Middlebury College up in Vermont. That was '97 to 2011, spent 14 years there, and took the Wesleyan job, head swimming coaching job for 11 years ago, back in 2012. Just recently retired about a month ago.
And I've been here at Connecticut College. Was the head coach of men's and women's swimming and diving for 21 years. I am now newly the head coach of men's swimming and diving, starting officially midway through last year, but this will be the first full year of that. I'm a '96 graduate of Tufts, having swum for Coach Megerle, who I will just refer to as Coach in this podcast. There is no other name. But been obviously with the NESCAC for a long time, right out of school. Went around for about 6 years to a lot of different programs, but eventually ended up back in the NESCAC.
Oh, awesome. Wow. Yeah. So we got like, if we were to combine all the years of NESCAC coaching experience, we'd have more than a lifetime of coaching experience just in the NESCAC alone. So I just think this is really unique. So that's awesome. So I'll kind of start at the beginning in this first question here. I just want to ask, how did you all get into coaching, and who were some of your early mentors along the way? I guess, Marc, I'll start with you here.
Sure. Yeah. So I was senior year at Tufts there, and looking for jobs and such, and did the normal academic route with double majored and all that, and wasn't having any success in the job market though. And coach said, why don't you come coach at this camp at Babson College with me for a week? And so I did, and that was that. Been coaching ever since.
So I went into college freshman year thinking I was going to be a dentist. And yeah, took my first chemistry exam, got that grade back, and thought, I might need to start thinking of plan B here. And that naturally kind of just reflecting on some of the impactful people in my life who a lot of them were coaches, gave me a plan B. And that's basically in my undergraduate years at NC State, decided I wanted to be a swim coach. And yeah, I started putting the pieces together. I was fortunate to have many amazing influences in my life, right from age group coaching, Ellis Mayers at Seekonk Dolphin. I think of Ed Reed, the little roadie head coach. He was the head coach of men's swimming and water polo at Brown University. My high school coach, Ken Reel, again, a Southern Connecticut graduate, but the PE teacher, and also ran the swimming program at our country club, Cambridge Swimming and Tennis Club. So just all these great coaches that had an impact on me. And I thought, boy, if I could have the impact on others that these folks have had on me, this coaching thing might be a good way to go. I'm not going to be a dentist.
Yeah, similar to Mark at Hamilton, had a degree in bio and a minor in math. And my college coach encouraged me to look into coaching because Trinity College was in need of an assistant coach at the time. And I was in need of a job that I was excited about. Other opportunities were out there, but wasn't all that excited about it. And my mom was a teacher, so I always liked education. So I started out substitute teaching middle school and coaching at Trinity, and really fell in love with coaching. Had a great high school and club coach. High school is Todd Rainey, who's still head coach at Amity High School, and my club coach, Mick Devanero at Orange Otters, but now I think it's the Amity Regional Aquatic Club. My college coach at Hamilton, Dave Thompson. My head coach at Trinity, Kristen Noon, who's now an administrator over there at Trinity. And then, of course, coach sitting to my left and Nancy Bigelow at Tufts have been huge influences since I arrived here, along with all the coaches in the NESCAC. So a lot of people in the support network that have, helped me get here, and thankful to have them.
My coaching career started before I knew it, and that was in my junior year in high school. My high school swimming coach, Tom Grohl, my senior year went to Bethany College, recruited me to go to Bethany, which I did. Without me knowing it, he was grooming me to go to Springfield College grad school with Coach Sylvie, which I did. There I met Ed Reed, and Eddie left to go to Brown. I went to Tufts, and when you mentioned Coach Reel, I remember he was so instrumental in recruiting the Benet Amar twins many, many years ago. And along the way, my life has been blessed with people in this room and on the screen, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's beautiful. I love hearing all the different paths that you guys have gone under and all the mentors along the way. I think what's fascinating to me is that, while we all have these uniquely different paths in the coaching sphere, you all have a shared connection through the NESCAC conference. I know, Don, you're sort of at the base of this coaching tree here, having coached Mark at Tufts and mentored both Adam and Peter. So my next question is just, how have you guys helped mentor one another through your experience in the NESCAC? And Don, I'll start with you here.
Well, that's a good question, because without even Pete and Adam and Mark knowing it, I've reached out to them so many times throughout my career for advice, for help and support. And the support they have given me through emails, personal visits, it has been inspiring. It really has. And luckily, I'm still in contact with so many of my former swimmers, even from my first year. I heard yesterday from Brian Herrick about an Achilles issue that he has. He graduated with Mark in '96. And we talk as if he graduated yesterday, and along many of his classmates. So they mentor me, me being their friend, and they in return have expressed a friendship. As I said at Jim Steen's induction ceremony a couple of weeks ago, it is a blessing, and it is beyond extraordinary. It really is. It's a wonderful life.
I'll tail off of that and just say, watching and talking. And so connecting with these guys on the screen, but also the other coaches in the conference, we just have that mutual respect, but also that friendship that enables us to pick up the phone, talk on deck about all the highs and all the lows, right? We've hit some pretty high peaks and some low valleys over the years, and no better people to turn to than the folks on this screen right here, and even within the other coaches of the conference, just to figure out, kind of opinions or best approaches based on their experience. But yeah, I would say, it's we'll get into this a little bit later, but that is what makes this conference so unique, is I would say that camaraderie that we all share.
Yeah, I'd like to just get onto that idea. I know obviously Coach has been a huge mentor, and we've been in close contact for 20 plus years, and on any and all topics. But also, and Peter, with you retiring this year, I've always said the voice of reason in the conference is just retired. So we're gonna need to reassess some things, I think. But you can always count on Peter to deliver a very calm and calculated approach to whatever it is we were talking about, but really, I think the camaraderie in our conference I think is really neat. It's I still remember my very first year. Our guys had always finished 11th out of 11 in the NESCAC. We were the perennial doormat, and we were fighting it out with Trinity for 10th. I remember Steve Custer, the Williams coach, coming over midway through the NESCAC meet, and he's like, "You think you're gonna get him? Like how, like he was all into it, and it was super exciting for him." And I'm like, this guy is about to win his bajillionth NESCAC title here, and he cares about the 10th, 11th place battle going on. I'm like, okay, that's how this is. I get it now. And it just really was cool, that sort of introduction to it all. And, I've tried to pay that forward, and everybody's just the investment in each other's success, I think, has been really cool to see over the years. And it's just been great when any of the NESCAC schools, do well. We feel, I think, a little sense of pride across the board.
Yeah, you guys have.
Go. I was just on that note, Mark. Do you remember the times like we would, again, be in our own little battles, but we'd come back from trials, come back at finals at night, and we'd already scored out the evening and how that was going to reflect on. And Mark had the meet calculated, back in April, but we would compare notes in terms of what the point spreads were going to look like at the end of the night, and just again, I was just as interested in how Mark's battles were going as the battles our teams were going through.
Yeah, I can just speak from my own personal experience. I think when I was hired as an interim head coaching the men's team at Tufts, within this conference, all the coaches, were looking out for me, were encouraging to me, were positive, were supportive, were helping me to succeed, and that has continued on. I mean, I still think of myself as the young guy and the inexperienced guy in the conference, and now I've been here for 20 years and 23 if you count the time at Trinity. So it's just always been a friendly group of coaches who, ultimately share the same mission, the same goal of helping young people swim fast, dive well, and get a great education and grow. And I think because of that, it's just nice. We all have a seat at the table. Everyone, gets a vote on different things. Our conference office, for the most part, is, presents in a way where they're interested in our opinion. Our director of athletics, they're allowing us to contribute. So, we feel like we have a little skin in the game, and we're not just being told what to do. And it's not just about swimming and diving. It's also about, education and personal growth and development. And that shared mission within a conference, I think, is rare. I think most conferences, you're going to see a pretty wide strata of types of schools with different mission statements as it relates to athletics. And I would say in the NESCAC, we're pretty much, regardless of where we're finishing, we're pretty much on par with what the mission is, what we're trying to accomplish.
And add on to what the other coaches said, Seamus, I just returned from induction Hall of Fame ceremony in Granbury, Ohio, with the esteemed Jim Steen and over 500 of his alumni. And it was obvious to me, but two coaches weren't invited. And they were two of the most successful, along with Jim, in Division III. And they were Kenyon grad, they're part of the NCAC, and they're part of the conference now with Emory and Hopkins and these other schools. And they weren't even invited. And it affected me a little bit. No one else even, I don't think in the room knew it, but it just bothered me a little bit. I don't think you would never see that in this case. It wouldn't happen.
Yeah, no, I've had the luxury of being, in the NESCAC coaching alongside Peter the last 2 years as a young grad assistant coach. And it was obvious to me right from the beginning, just how unique this conference is. And you all touched on it, but just the mentorship within the conference, and also I think just the development of, the student athlete and kind of the holistic approach of just, coaching them as a person. It's just a really special thing. So going off of that, I wanted to ask, what do you each believe sets the NESCAC conference apart from other conferences? And if you could give, some examples, for the audience, that would be great. So I guess, Peter, I'll start with you.
I would say certainly the investment in probably the true balance of academic and athletic responsibilities. I know that's kind of a cliche line for probably any college coach in the recruiting process, but I would say our conference really does put their money where their mouth is in terms of making sure that the students are focusing primarily on their academics, but also allowing athletics to fit in there nicely. Okay, and so again, we would often refer to as academics being number one priority, and athletics being a 1A, if you will. But I think students in our conference do get that great balance. A lot of other things that make our conference unique has to do with, I think, where our conference came from. And we came out of the New England College Swimming and Diving Association, with all the Division III schools and even Division I universities in New England. And that was the conference, if you will. And so a lot of forward thinking back in the day, and it had to do with participation. All right. And you saw that in the size of rosters and championships. You saw that in the events. The NESCAC created, again, those 50s of strokes, the 200 relays, right? That was not a thing in Division I, II, or III. That came out of the New England Swimming Association. The 100 IM. These are all events that the association just invested in way back when. And so when conferences started breaking out of that association, NEWMAC, and certainly the NESCAC, we brought a lot of that history with us. And so again, I would say we focused on participation. And so the more events there were, the more people we got into finals at night, and more chances for people to compete, and really just to keep it fun. And so I would say that history kind of continues to make NESCAC unique. We're still doing the 50s of strokes. Unfortunately, lost the 100 IM a few years back. But again, you think of those 200 medley relays, 200 free relays, that came out of this association way back in the day. And Don probably can reflect more on that than I can.
Yeah, I mean, that when I was on the rules committee back in the mid 80s, when that topic came up, knowing that we were ready the next day for a vote, the entire committee of 28 Division I, II, and III coaches would go to an annual dinner prior to all these votes for these important issues. And I decided to buy everyone dinner. And I did, and it cost a ton of money. And before the meeting, the next day, Eddie Reese stands up and he said, I would like to thank Don Megerle for that magnanimous gesture of buying everyone dinner last night. They went on to vote everything I wanted. It was absolutely, and Harvard, she was so pissed. She goes, why are you listening to this guy? He's only Division III. What the hell does he know? And Eddie goes, he bought me dinner, you know. And with Nord and Ray Buzzer, we got all these things passed, and it was wild. I mean, we changed at one point. Ernie McGlisco and we decided it would be cool to switch the 800 and the 400 free relay, which we did. Big mistake. We changed it back the next year. We had all this power and ability to make changes at the rules committee level. It was extraordinary. But the short relays, that was pretty cool. Really cool.
I would like to say thank goodness you did as a thoroughbred.
One more thing, sprinter.
I wouldn't have had any events if we didn't.
One thing I'd like to add, and I think we're fortunate, and maybe we take it for granted, but there used to be a nickname for our conference, and that was the Little Ivies. And I think just because of the nature of the schools, I think we are fortunate in terms of the people that are looking at schools that we have here in the NESCAC. And once in a while we overlap with the Ivies, and then we get lucky and we pull somebody away from Division I, and they have a huge impact in NESCAC and Division III. But I think just the fact that, again, the schools in our conference makes recruiting relatively easy. Not easy, but we're fortunate of the clientele we're working with.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main points, and always telling recruits, this is not a place where you have to choose whether you want to be successful at academics or athletics. You can be great at both, and the college is really behind you being great at both. And I always joke, I don't know how much my administrators like me joking about it, but I always say, academics is number one, swimming is number two. There is that overlap, and I think that's one of the really cool things about the NESCAC, and that I love working with the athletes that are of that mindset.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add, but the one thing I've noticed that I really enjoy is the roster size at our conference meets and the separate gender conference meets tends to be very unique, especially right now. So, having 24, women or 24 men competing, it's pretty special. 11 schools in the conference. We're a little larger than most, so it's a pretty big meet. And, for the most part, there might be an exception here or there, but everyone's shaved and everyone's tapered and everyone's ready to rip it up at the conference championships. There's a high level of interest and importance placed on, the conference championship. And it's not just the teams looking to win. It's every team, like Coach Benvenuti, Mark said, like you're 11th, you're looking to scrape to get 10th. That's really exciting. So it creates this energy and this atmosphere within our conference that's really special. Even though I think, we almost had every school in the conference represented at the national championships. And if you talk to most coaches and say, what's the most important competition of the year in any sport, they're going to go, well, the national championships. And for us, it's very important, equally important, but I wouldn't say more important than the conference championships. And you go to other conferences and you don't quite have that same energy. Not everyone's rested, not everyone's shaved. The focus might just be on NCAA. So I've always really enjoyed that atmosphere. And I think it sets us apart. It's really quite special being able to compete with athletes who are all focused on doing really, really great at this one meet.
One of the unique parameters that NESCAC schools have to operate under is the starting date. So it used to be November 1st for many years. It's now settling in around October 22nd as the first day of official practice, being on deck with the team. And so that also influences whether or not teams are focusing on a December shave. I know a lot of teams, in fact, probably most teams now do try and get that first semester shave in, but it's still not the focus of the season. I'd say it's a chance to swim fast, maybe get a cut here and there, but we're putting all of our eggs into the basket at the conference championships, unlike I would say a lot of other conferences. So that did Adam's comments certainly reminded me of that starting date, which makes us unique as well.
And I think part of this question, not only we're swimming coaches, but in the broader spectrum of the NESCAC conference of all the sports, and I'll use a phrase, in spite of our starting dates, can't do this, can't do that, can't do this. We, at the end of the season, all of the sports are near the top of their respective championship, right? Nearly all of them. You look at the Sears Cup, the top 20 teams, 5, 6, 7 are NESCAC teams. Tufts won it 2 years ago. They were second last year. No one can boast that reputation and that success. No matter what they couldn't do and can't do, they end up being there at the end, at the top of the game. It's an extraordinary program, conference. It really is.
Yeah, that's a great point. It reminds me too, going back to Adam's point, like at the NCAAs this year, it was my first experience on deck at the NCAA Division III championship meet, and it was amazing to see like the camaraderie between all the NESCAC teams and just the support like for all of the teams, even though at one point we're competing against each other throughout the season, and certainly at the conferences, and we're uber competitive. I would say friendship sort of aside, we're getting trying to get the best sort of team finish by the end of the meet, and but it's an amazing thing, like getting to NCAAs and just having everyone support each other, and it was like really cool. We had one Wesleyan swimmer, she was a freshman, Izzy Paez, who qualified for the 200 fly, and we were kind of right, almost like taken in by the College group of men that were there with Mark. So it was nice to just kind of share that communal NESCAC feeling at the big meet, at the big NCAA championship. So so I want to segue into we touched on sort of kind of the mold of the student athlete in the NESCAC. And it's no secret that, these NESCAC schools, like you said, at one point, or even sort of now, they might be known as the mini Ivies. So it's no secret that it takes a very high caliber student to get into, the NESCAC school. So my question for you all is, what characteristics are you looking for when recruiting an athlete to your program? And Adam, I'll start with you here.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're in a somewhat of a unique sport. I talk to the ball coaches within our department, and they tend to be jealous that we can measure athletic performance typically by time. It's a little bit more difficult in diving. So of course, we're looking at times. We're looking at great students, like you said. We're certainly looking at progression of times. But if you take like the data away, what I would say, and this is a little bit harder, I think, to figure out, and it's probably not the easiest thing for a prospective student athlete to hear, but we're really trying to find people that are passionate about swimming or diving, people that are passionate about our school. And it is really hard to measure because you've got some recruits who are really extroverted, some who are really introverted, but I don't know a better way of saying it, trying to find people that are into it. There's a lot of pressure to go to a great school. There's a lot of pressure to keep performing whatever you're performing in any sport. And not to say I don't want to recruit someone who excels under that pressure, but I want someone who, is having a lot of fun doing it. And yeah, they're just really into it. They're going to be excited to invest in our team, in our school, all aspects. So hard to measure. Probably don't get it right all the time. But definitely try to figure that part out. Yeah.
I've been away from recruiting for so long, but I have so many fond memories, good and bad. And the ones, just listened to an interesting podcast or an interview with Deion Sanders, and talking about the recruits that he's looking for. Obviously, hundreds and hundreds each season. But he said he's looking for the kids that can say, I love football. I love it more than my life itself. And when you sense that with an athlete, swimmer, or diver, it's really quite something special. And I also look for the respect between the athlete and the parents. For example, we had a fellow in there with his mom and dad, and I was engaged with his father talking about his son and his progress in swimming. And his father he wanted to tell me about his son. And his son interjected in a very, very disrespectful way that I will tell him about me. I never called that kid again. And he ended up going to Amherst. And I could care less about what kind of a swimmer he was or he turned out to be. I look for that. And I also look for the response from the parents when I would tell them that I've been fortunate to be an usher in more than 10 of my swimmers' weddings and get their reaction. Not the swimmer could care less. They don't, what the hell is this guy talking about weddings for? And I want to see the reaction from the mom and dad. And they go, wow, you really get to know your kids. I said, I take pride in it. I really get to know them. And they feel comfortable knowing that I feel that comfortable. So, but the academics, they go hand in hand with just about everything else. And it's, I love the recruiting process. I remember Mark telling me when he walked into my office, he sort of looked around the room and said, this is where I want to be. And I just remember that. I know what that feeling is like. And I felt it the same way when I met Coach Sylvia, when I met Coach Steen, when I'm with Coach Graw. You can feel it. No one has to tell you. You just know.
Yeah, I knew so much. I did an extra year of high school. I wasn't quite smart enough to go to Tufts the first go around. I had to get in after a PG year, but it's all good. Ended up in the right place.
You didn't know you were destined for Clark. Was it Clark?
Yeah, that was like one of the or it was either Clark or Coast Guard, and I was like, I'm not feeling it at either one of those places.
Because I didn't know you did the post. And I called Mark Coach. I said, how's that kid Marc Benvenuti? He never showed up. I said, what? And that's when I found out you took a year off.
Yeah. And I remember calling Coach the day I got my acceptance to Tufts. I was on the one payphone in the dorm at the Kent School, and I called him up. I said, Coach, I got in. I'm coming to Tufts. He said, who's this? It was a great move, but I learned a lot through that process, and ever since, and I remember one of the things Coach told me early on, maybe even one of the first years I was out, coaching in the Ivies and amongst other places, but the words, and I'm sure you still say this, Coach, is help them get what they want and you'll get what you want. And I thought, I don't have a clue what this guy's talking about. The first time I heard that, and once I did figure it out, the things I'm looking for in the recruits is it's ambition, really. These kids want something. I want guys to come in here and they want to find out something about themselves, whether it's a student or an athlete or just personal growth or whatever. But they got some ambition, and the love of the sport and stuff comes with that, and but the ambition to try to be something that they currently aren't, and that to me. That's a good one, and it's those guys. I go around, I watch a lot of swim meets, and I know as Coach Adam was saying, we can look at the times, and that tells you only so much. It tells you a lot, but it doesn't tell you everything. And I want to go and watch a kid compete as the anchor on a relay, and see what his demeanor is, and does that kid want to be the anchor on that relay? Does he want to be the one that it all comes down to? Does he want to, after that, what does he do when he goes over and talks with his coach, and what does that interaction look like? And, and in the relationship with the parents, like Coach was saying, and, I years ago recruited a kid named Nico Brosnahan, who, coming out of high school, he was a an upstate New York guy, like you, Seamus. But
I recognize the name, actually. I remember
yeah,
swimming against him.
About your era, probably. But he was, like a 23.2, 50 freestyle or something. They were he and his mom and dad were visiting campus that day, and I just agreed to meet with him because I mostly agree to meet with everybody. And, but he comes down to the office, and I'm about to give him the, look, I'm really sorry you're not fast enough to make the team talk. And he walks in the office, and first thing is he fills the doorway. He's about 6'5" and about 220 pounds. I was like, Nico, come right in. But what really sold me on the kid was, so Dad and Nico were in the office, and I think Mom was in the restroom. She came in later. Mom comes in the door, and Nico stands right up and offers his seat to Mom, like without prompt, without anything. Just like that was natural reaction for the kid, and I thought, wow, okay, this is the kind of guy I want on my team. Many 4 years later, ends up being a NESCAC champion on a 200 free relay, and All-American and everything, and I think even a conference record holder on that one. I'm not sure, but this is a great story of a great kid who made the most of an opportunity, but really wanted to do something, and shot way above where he was currently, and that's what we've made this whole program on, and that's who we're going to keep making it on is that kid.
Nice. I have to completely agree with everything that's been said so far in terms of characteristics and just traits that we look for in the recruiting process. But, nothing works better than a crystal ball, be able to look down the road to see what the future has in store. And none of us have that. And so we take gambles, and some of those gambles work out. Some of them may not be what we were hoping for. But in addition to times, obviously we get excited when we see a NCAA qualifier send us an email and let us know that they're interested in our school. But, trying to find the diamond in the rough is the challenge, in trying to match up somebody with that great personality with somebody that's going to fit into your program. And I would say that's where it gets a little bit fuzzy in terms of knowing what you're investing in. And so for me, again, it's that recruiting visit that is kind of the last piece of the equation, just to get a sense of a person's attitude. I won't even say personality, because we have all personalities on the team, or had when I was coaching. And so sometimes your greatest guys are the go-getters that take charge, gregarious, very personable. And it's great having them in the leadership positions on your team. But some of the best contributors and really the foundation of the program are very quiet, introverted type of swimmers' personalities. And we want them on the team. Again, I would say from all walks of life, orientations, we want to meet them to get a sense of how they fit into our program. And as Adam talked about, how excited are they about that school, that program? And that's what you try to pick up on when they do visit. And so obviously the people that want to be there, we're in their corner. We want to make that happen and get them part of our program. I would say it works most of the time, but once in a while, that crystal ball doesn't work out so well. But yeah, I'd say it's more than just about times. We want the right fit, the right personality, the people that are going to bring that energy, that, again, positive attitude to your pool deck on a daily basis.
I love it. Yeah. For any swimmers, who are looking to swim in college that may listen in on this, I think it shows the importance of, not only being able to communicate your times and, maybe your interests academically, but then also just connecting with these coaches, whether that's initially through phone calls, Zooms, but then eventually just being able to go on campus. And like Don said, it's just it's a feeling, like there's energy, like everything is energy. And so being able to catch that feeling from yourself and the coach, that's really what sort of makes a difference in the process. So I really love that insight. So switching a little bit, I want to kind of give a little bit more insight as to what head coaches, go through in a season's, really in a year's worth of time. So I know, Peter, you've been quoted as saying that Division III is one-stop shopping, and we do everything. And so what did you mean by this, and what are some of the more challenging things that NESCAC head coaches face today?
I would say your access to resources is going to be different at every school. Okay. But generally speaking, in Division III, your head coaches are doing pretty much everything. All right. In terms of recruiting, fundraising, writing workouts, I would say working with teams in terms of educational pieces throughout the year, whether it's mental health issues, again, even diversity, equity, and inclusion training, worrying about meals, flights, travel, officials, putting in touchpads, better than anybody, the logistics of even setting up for a meet, breaking down after a meet. And so it's just nonstop in terms of things that are required to run a successful program. And so it's more than a full-time job. And so obviously, if you have assistant coaches that you can help delegate and share that responsibility, the better. And again, that will vary at different schools. But I would say that tends to be the biggest challenge in trying to run a program is trying to be everything for everybody, which is not humanly possible. But nonetheless, we try.
I think you captured that one pretty well.
Good.
That was really well said, Peter. Super concise and to the point. I think looking at the four other coaches, I should say, in this session, I think while it's hard to do everything, I think certainly look at it as a privilege to some level. I mean, I don't know that I look at putting in touchpads as a privilege that gets me excited, but I will say that showing my team I'm willing to do whatever we need to do to be successful, to run a great program, I think means a lot to them in the relationship I have with them. And I'm sure everybody else would echo that. And not all head coaches have the opportunity or the time to be able to show them kind of the humanity of us, and the reality is I'm going to pick up a Band-Aid on the pool deck. I'm fine putting in the touchpads. I may not like doing these things, but I want us to be great. So I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I think, that's something that can be talked about, but modeling it is really helpful from an educational standpoint.
Watching Coach Megerle run his program over the years and just the lengths that he went to run a successful program and making sure that his athletes were taken care of almost became a household joke in our house, because I was trying to almost duplicate, including the guidebook, what Don had set up for his programs. And again, that came with many sleepless nights, whether it was preseason, pre-banquet, of trying to hold that standard. And again, I would say the one thing I learned from athletes in your charge: don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And kind of going along with what Adam said, by modeling that behavior, they get a sense of where they fit into the scheme of things. And if again you're grinding the stone, trying to get all the I's dotted and T's crossed, I think they see that and appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. I certainly having firsthand knowledge of what that was like as an athlete and how special that was. All of those things. One of the things I'm really excited about with this new move, at Con and just coaching one team, is the ability to do that stuff more. One of the biggest reasons I had pushed hard to make this happen was that I felt like I couldn't be everything to everybody, and I was trying real hard. But now the opportunity to do that with just half as many, probably still not going to be everything to everybody, but got a lot better chance now anyway, and really has allowed me to connect with the athletes even more than before, which was quite a bit. But this is now a whole different ball game for us, and I'm just, it's been really good, and on that level, it makes putting touch pads in and trying to schedule officials and do all the other stuff that is sort of the thankless stuff of the job that you just don't even think about that stuff. It's just part of, we got to do it, and like that lets me do all the other things that I want to do, which is be with the athletes.
Yeah, definitely. It's Peter would always say, it's getting through the minutia of it all, and that allows you to get to sort of the true joy of the coaching profession, which is being at those meets, being in the moment of practice, and just doing what we do best, which is just connect with our athletes. So yeah, that's some tremendous insight, and it makes me think too, like it also shows the importance of just having a good staff around you, because yes, as a head coach, you're in a managerial role, you're trying to schedule all the things that you have to sort of make the machine kind of move in the right direction, if you will. But at the same time, you need good assistant coaches around you. You need good administrators. It's just the collective support of everyone that just makes your job even easier. So, but yeah, so I'll move on here. I want to kind of touch on some of the more memorable sort of moments in your career. So, throughout your coaching careers, what are some of the more memorable races or meets that you have presided over? So, that can be a surprise swim, a team title, even a moment in practice. If there's any, examples that stick out, we'd love to hear about them. So, if anyone wants to jump in.
I can start off with a couple. I'll try to be brief, but when I was coaching at Trinity College with Kristen Noon, my first year, our men's team didn't win a meet. And the second year we didn't win a meet until I think it was our 8th meet, and they threw me in the pool at the dual meet. I don't remember who it was against, but I'm yelling at them saying, guys, like, you get thrown in the pool when you win a title, not when you break a losing streak. But you know what? You do whatever feels right to you as a team. So that was pretty memorable. I'd say my second year at Tufts coaching the men, again, we finished runner-up, and the guys jumped in the pool at Williams. Williams had won the meet. They were the ones supposed to jump in the pool. They ultimately did. But we jumped in the pool. I was thrown in the pool. But just that level of enthusiasm, that level of excitement, that level of pride, I think is whenever I think about any athletic experiences I had as an athlete or as a coach, like that's what it revolves around, like pure elation, pure joy. That's what we're trying to do. It can't be dreamed up. It just happens, similar with our women winning a first conference title, but there are so many, it doesn't have to be a title. It can be the littlest swim, the littlest moment in practice that is just really authentic, genuine, and organic. And that's what we're going for, right? It's like so cool when that stuff happens. So yeah, so many, like too many to even be able to pick one. So many special athletes, coaches, moments. I mean, Coach, I can't even imagine what you're going to say. I mean, how do you pick?
Yeah, right. I mean, our early swimming pales in comparison to what Mark and Adam and Peter have done. But my first real memorable moment was when we had a swimmer, Jim Lilly, win his national title down in Lexington in Virginia, Wesleyan University in 82 and 50.6. And it was amazing. And we were 4th place in the final tally of schools. They only gave trophies to the top 3 then. They gave 4th place trophy the following year. And I tell people, had we gotten a trophy in 82, I'd still be sleeping with it. because having that NCAA trophy, every athlete of any team and every coach knows what that represents, whether it's first, second, third, or fourth. It is a culmination of extraordinary love for your sport, preparation that goes beyond the pale. And so Lily was one, and then I'll finish with this one really quick. Jim Wong was a great swimmer for us many, many years ago. When he won the 50-yard freestyle, New England went on to nationals, and he was third in the 50 freestyle, went 20.8, even beat Jim Bourne down in Canton, Ohio, and he went 45-1 off our relay. And going to Division Ones, following that, me telling Division One coaches who had recruited Jim Wong, and they didn't go there, obviously, and telling them what he did as for time, they were astounded. Phil Hansel at Houston said, "My God, we could have used him on our relay." I'm sitting there thinking, really? I was flabbergasted. It was just so, I was beaming. I was so excited. But what we did then, and I mean this sincerely, pales in comparison to what the kids are doing today. It's beyond anything I've ever seen. I marvel. I just marvel. Take my head off. Respect beyond off the charts for what Pete and Adam and Mark have done and will continue to do with the swimmers.
I tried to narrow it down to my top three, and I think I snuck in four. And even hearing Coach speak, I can think of 3 or 4 more other ones that so memorable. But my first year at Amherst, we're swimming this team called Williams in the bull meet, and I'm not even sure I had an appreciation. Certainly didn't have an appreciation then for what I have now for this conference, and certainly what Williams has been able to do over many decades. But anyways, unknowingly, we became the first team to beat Williams men in the dual meet that year. My first time out. And so I don't think I repeated that in the next 28 years of my coaching career, but that was quite memorable. Number 2, we actually won the NESCAC championships. I think we were the first team to do so on the men's side, other than Williams, since 1966 or something like that. So back in 2002 with our Middlebury men. So that was pretty memorable, especially when you consider our last dual meet of the year was against Williams, and they pretty much just about doubled our points. And 3 weeks later, we were to come back and surprise them. And again, number crunching is what we do. And so I kind of about 3 or 4 days before the championships, we get the psych sheet, and I start crunching some numbers and start playing best case scenarios. And I put it out there that, all right, guys, you guys can pull this off. You get to shave my head. And things started coming together day 1, day 2. By day 3, they had bought the buzzers and did it right on the pool deck. Happened to be at Wesleyan back in 2002, and took the hair off of my head right on the spot. So that was certainly memorable. Like Coach, I had a national champion back in 2010, John Dillon, and John was NCAA Swimmer of the Year that year back in Division III Nationals at Minnesota. So an amazing breakout performance there. And really, that was exciting to be part of. The team did well, but certainly so did John really have a breakthrough performance there. But I have to say, qualifying Wesleyan's first women's relay to nationals, I won't say the first ever, but probably in a couple of decades, we got disqualified at championships unjustly, but nonetheless, we made a good case for ourselves, and the ADs gave us permission to do a time trial the following week at the men's championships. And so anyways, we got the girls ready for that 4x100 free relay. Caroline Murphy, Hannah O'Halloran, Zoe Karich, and Grace Middleton had to get up and do this race one more time. And so anyways, we went out fast and we had it going, and we just needed that last leg to finish. And sure enough, she touched the wall. And not only had we qualified, we'd gone a second faster than we had at championships the weeks before. Just a lot riding on the line, particularly for our senior that year, Zoe Karich. And so to me, that was euphoric, that moment when we qualified that relay for the first time back in 2018 was exciting. But yeah, I've celebrated all of these guys' victories, and again, so the memories are too numerous to even include here. But that could be a podcast on its own. Exciting moments. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. I remember a lot of these moments. They were pretty awesome. You think back over the years, and the ones that always get me are like the senior who has worked his tail off or her tail off for 4 years, maybe never really got the recognition they deserved or something. And then all of a sudden the senior year, they come out and everything comes together. And one of the people I'm obviously thinking about, Seamus, is your brother, Taj, last year, and how all that came together for him. But there've been a long line of seniors before that, who finally put it all together, and just magic happens when you see that senior year, 4 years of work. And those are the ones that just always get me. I'm a big crier on the pool deck when it comes to that stuff. I just can't help it. Like, it's so cool. Those moments are awesome. I think of some team moments. We've had some individual champions, NESCAC and NCAA, and that's been great. Those were obviously amazing, moments and everything. But I always think of those senior moments, and then I also think of, there's been a couple of teams throughout my time that have just been really special teams that put it all together, did everything right all year. And, then at the end of the year, sometimes you can have a team that does everything right and nothing happens at the end. But the team that does everything right, puts it all together, and then goes and swims with that passion and excitement and puts it all together, and you get some just incredible performances. And I can think of two right off the top of my head. One was actually when I was an assistant coach at Princeton. So this is a long time ago. We had Harvard had won the Ivy League for the last 6 or 7 years, and we were at Harvard for the championships, and we were behind the entire meet. As Peter can attest, I crunched all the numbers and knew that we would be behind the whole way, but we were gaining the whole way through, and didn't take the lead until the 200 fly, last individual event. We had 4 guys in the A final, took the lead over Harvard. In fact, one of my favorite things is hearing them come over the loudspeaker just before that, announcing the Harvard victory reception would be in the such and such room.
Oh.
So we come over the top of them in the last 2-3 events. We just had to hang on that relay, and and pulled off the win for the first time, and I don't know how long, but that was just one of those. You just, like you say, euphoric, moments. Another one I can quickly remember is in 2014, our men up at Bowdoin. It was the first time we really, really put ourselves on the map. We won every relay except the 8 free relay, and I think set records in most of them. And just every time the guys touched the water, it was lightning. I mean, it was just I went back and calculated everything. It was 98% lifetime best in that meet. Of all the swims, it was one guy went slower in finals than he did in prelims, and that was it. The whole meet was just best time after best time, best time. And all those teams, were one of those special kinds of teams, and and you just love to see them have that payoff at the end, and have that, just some incredible experiences, and to be a part of that. And it's funny because I want to be a part of it, but also I've been around long enough to know that when you've got a team going that well, my best move is to just step back and let it all happen. But boy, it's exciting. And I think of even our guys last year, and all the things they did right, and to have our first relay qualify in for NCAAs in a number of years. That was really special, and just some great moments along the way. And but yeah, those are the things more than even the national champions. Those are the things that will always stay with me long after this. Incredible stuff to be a part of that.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys sharing some of these. I think, like you said, it's hard to try and pick 3 or 4 moments, but there are certainly countless special ones. But yeah, I think just listening in, like that payoff, right, of the hard work that the athletes put in, and seeing that come to fruition, sort of at NESCACs or at NCAA's, sort of championships or champions aside. Obviously, that's a product of it, but those are really what stand out, and certainly dethroning a Harvard or Williams might stick in your brain.
Can I add one more memory? Young in my Amherst coaching days, we're at NESCAC championships at Wesleyan University, and something's happening with the timing system. So there's a delay in the meet, substantial delay in the meet, and so all the swimmers are getting anxious and trying to figure out what to do and trying to stay warm. And there's somebody over in the side of the pool floating on his back. and 5 minutes, 10 minutes, this person, you almost have to make sure that the person's still alive, but just floating on their back. And anyways, they finally figure out the timing system. They get the race up and going, and Tufts wins the relay. And I had to, Don, what the heck is happening over here? What did your guy do while they were fixing the timing system? He's like, oh yeah, he was floating. Floating. It's like, yeah, what we do. Come taper time, they start floating. So anyways, that's another podcast in itself.
That was my senior year. I was a flyer on that relay.
There you go.
Dr. Brian Herrick floating in the Wesleyan pond.
Yes. People are jumping around, getting crazy, screaming, just trying to fill the time and stay warm. And Brian had a Zen moment going on in the pool there, and obviously the rest is history. Very memorable, Coach.
Especially when knowing that we were seeded first going into the final, but we were going to relinquish to Williams because they were going to flip-flop John Young and the butterfly. And we thought, well, we're not going to beat these guys. And man, they went on to beat them. Crazy.
Sure did.
No Justin Steele at the end of that one, Mark.
That'd be a podcast in itself, just memorable moments. I'd say not only in the pool, but maybe even away from the pool. But again, that would get us all fired.
Yeah, I have to be careful with those. Well, speaking of floating during taper time, I just want to ask, there's a lot of talk with coaches about training and certain aspects of their training that, might help their athlete reach those kind of championships or champion status. Is there anything that you guys do within your training that's sort of what I would call a game changer for your athletes, that is just sort of, really stayed consistent, or even something new that you just are really a strong believer in? And
secret, Seamus?
Secrets, exactly.
I've again fortunate to have been mentored and around some brilliant minds in swimming, and I think they all I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is rest. I think we rest more than swimmers are comfortable resting at the end of the year, and that comes from Coach Megerle. It comes from my club coach, Ed Reed, who also is a Coach Sylvia disciple, as is Don Megerle. And so Ed had the best tapers for me. I learned from what he did for our tapers. I watched Coach Megerle and listened to him about resting, and brought that into our program. So I think that was kind of the game changer for our programs over the years. At Middlebury, we used to call it the Middlebury Magic. But it was nothing more than working hard and then resting a lot.
Having benefited greatly from all of that rest, that's certainly something we've taken and feel like, maybe we've added to as well. But I think, he's a game changer. I think just as a sport, one of the big game changing things, obviously, is the underwater kicking. I mean, if you're not doing that, you're a dinosaur at this point. But so that's got to be somewhere in your training program. I think, though, for us, if we're doing anything unique, it's in just addressing every kid on the team's needs, and really trying to make sure that, and like, again, with 26 athletes, and I can do that now and say, all right, what do you need to go fast? What do you need to go fast? And, be able to really cater to each of them. And we get kids from everywhere. Some are, are used to doing a, bajillion yards 5 times a day and, never took a day off in their lives. And, and some of them started in high school and, don't even know what USA Swimming is, and, trying to get all of these guys to be at their very best at the end of the year. It's not a one size fits all thing. And I think if we're giving out some secrets, there's our secret, is that we're just trying to get everybody what they need to be at their best at the end. It's I keep going back to that. I get them what they want, and then I get what I want at the end of that. So that's how we kind of look at things as a team nowadays.
Yeah, kind of to Mark's point, I always I like to talk. I like to talk to the team. I like to talk to the athletes about everything and anything. But I try to remember that I've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And I try to listen a lot to what they're saying. It's not always my natural kind of path because I have a lot of experiences I want to share. But to Mark's point, really listening makes a big difference. I think given the NESCAC kind of season, we have to trust our athletes maybe more than any other coaches in the country because our out of season is a bit longer. So we can, direct them as to what we suggest them to do, what we would like them to do. But you've got to have that level of trust. And I think that's something that makes our relationships with our athletes really, really special. But you only have trust when it's a two-way street and when you're listening and kind of like Mark said, giving them something, even if it's just an opportunity to get what they want, then we get what we want. So there's a lot of that partnership, that collaboration that I think is special. I tell them all the time, I don't have any answers. I just have ideas. I mean, maybe with some basic stuff as to, what to do, what not to do, but they already know those things. Those are the answers I have. Other than that, I just share ideas and we talk a lot. The only other thing I would say is like more so out of necessity, given our facility in the school, but has been really interesting to see happen. So we do swim some doubles in our program. They're not required, so people have to choose to participate in those. But like Mark said, I mean, there are people very used to that. They feel like they need that to do really well. So we do that. We used to do them in the morning early. And now we do them, the last thing they do of the day training wise is their double session. And it's usually an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. And the output difference, having them do it last rather than do it first, their focus, their enthusiasm, their performance, their energy has been amazing. And what I also learned about those doubles is you take, we might have a great mid-distance swimmer and a great miler there. I used to, perfect opportunity, give them really specific stuff to do. And what I found is they're much better off just racing each other, even if it's not the same event. Get those fast, competitive people together and let them do something, amazing together. So that's been a cool kind of learning experience for me. And it also relates to what both Peter and Mark said about rest. I don't like to get them up early if I do not have to. Sleep. Please get your sleep. We don't need to get up crazy early to do it because they don't go to bed early no matter what. I can schedule 5 a.m. workout. They're not going to go to bed earlier. Some of them will, but not all our athletes. They have a lot of priorities. So trying to make it work for them has been fun. But those are a couple things that I found kind of along the lines of what Peter and Mark said. So I think we all kind of have similar thoughts, and it's just unique to our school as to how we're able to implement those ideas.
Well, when I was at Kenyon, I didn't realize that with the TPSC Total Performance Swim Camp, they have added, as Jess Book, the current coach, talks about, the fifth stroke, and that is underwater kicking. And they have brought in this past summer a specialist, and it's part of their training. It's part of the week-long preparation. They've got fly back, breast-free, and all sprint group. And now they have an underwater session with a specialized coach just on dolphin kicking on front and back. And that's amazing. And I didn't know that going in, 10 years ago. But boy, this past year, watching Williams at NESCAC especially, the underwater kicking that they were doing was just beautiful to watch. You go to the next level, you go to Division I. My goodness, they don't come up to even breathe. They're all underwater. It is amazing to watch, and they can learn that. They learn that, and they're learning it well. All the kids. And the thing about rest, and I don't take credit for this, but everything I did with our swimmers and learned from the coaches with swimming, I've applied it to the running, and it has worked wonders. And when Mark talked about sleeping late, we have no rules or regulations governing our marathon team. And I tell them, if they wake up on a Wednesday for a 6:30 a.m. for a 7 a.m. run and they feel tired, roll over and stay in bed. You're dog tired. I do not want you coming down to see me thinking that's going to be your benefit, getting a marathon bid. Roll over and go back to bed. And a lot of them do. And it's to their benefit that they do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think rest, just whether that's sleeping, just in sort of getting your extra hours of sleep, or certainly when it comes to taper time, and just being able to, just be off your legs a little bit more, and certainly, just kind of ease up on the volume of training is certainly beneficial for the athletes. So. So I want to be cognizant of all your time here. We're going to be winding down. This is my final question. I just want to ask, how do you all see college swimming continuing to evolve, both in the NESCAC conference and within the larger scope of Division III? I know, we've come a long way in the sport. Certainly, Don, you've seen, the sport evolve back when there were, no separate divisions, and it was all under the same NCAA sort of division banner. So I just wanted to ask, how do you guys see the scope of college swimming evolve? We'll start with you, Don, or you, Adam.
I'll go with Adam because they have a much better grasp on this than I do, quite frankly.
Sure.
Yeah, I think something that kind of blows my mind that I'm interested to see if it comes to fruition across pretty much all sports. We're all just becoming more aware of resources and providing resources as best we can in our communities to young people to be able to learn, educate themselves, practice, and get better. And I think something that I'm seeing, and I'm sure Mark and Peter, you see it, when you go to NCSAs or YMCA Nationals, there are a lot of very fast swimmers out there. There are a lot of people qualified to join our teams, to join a lot of different teams. And what I think and hope may happen is we may see a little bit more parity in teams across the country, across all divisions, from ranking standpoints. And I could be wrong, but I just think there are more athletes out there, and gone are the days and times where these, top one or two programs can just kind of cherry pick these really special athletes. So it's fun and exciting for, I think all coaches to know that we're going to have a shot at putting together some really special teams, and we're not just dictated, a certain place finish because there's a pecking order already in place. So just things are going to get faster, and a lot of teams are going to be faster, not just the typical kind of top teams in the country. And that's going to be exciting for a lot of teams to be able to hopefully try to do things that haven't been done before at their schools. So that's the one thing kind of I've been looking at just when I look at the pure data and volume of unbelievable athletes out there.
The Division III is the old Division I. It just keeps
Right.
getting faster, and I don't see it stopping. I'm not sure what that point of where we physically can't get any faster, but it's nowhere on the horizon at this point. And I've often joked around about having a Division IV just to, again, get that parity back in within certain teams. It's gotten so fast. But I think a lot of it's going to, on the national level, Division III level, is going to be determined by budgets and whatever football and basketball do with their TV contracts is going to have a trickle-down effect with Division III swimming and our championships, and certainly for Olympic sports. So that remains to be seen. I hope that they continue, to offer Division III national championships down the road. But there are scenarios that play out that, budget-wise, with NCAA loses those contracts, that things could look a lot differently. And this pressure in the NESCAC to reduce budgets, to reduce roster sizes, reduce the length of our championships, reduce events at our championships, or even final opportunities, final swims at our championships. And coaches have been certainly doing diligence to try and keep things focused on participation. But as soon as you start losing roster spots, events, final swims, the rich get richer, and there are going to be teams in the bottom tier that won't even see a final swim/dive if it moves in that direction. So again, I'd say there's certainly some pressure to go in that direction. Hopefully it won't, but that's certainly on the horizon for all of us coaches.
Yeah, I think from the Division I Olympic side of things and all that, sport just keeps getting faster, and you just see all these young kids, like Adam was saying, and these meets that we're recruiting at and stuff, and you're like, these kids, there's 50 kids in this one event who could come and swim at my school right now, and then of course thinking, well, why aren't they at my school? But it's just there's a lot of them, and I do think that eventually is going to lead to some parity. But the whole level is rising, and I think it's going to be interesting in the NESCAC in the coming years, where like Adam, I still see myself as one of the young coaches, except I'm not anymore, and I'm now, especially with Peter retiring, now I'm like third or fourth most senior coach in the NESCAC, and that in my head doesn't register. But there's a lot of young coaches, and the conference is going to go where they want it to go, and where those voices contribute, and hopefully they see the value in the things that us older coaches who have been around a long time and who even originally set up the NESCAC, that they place value upon the things that the NESCAC has been, and hopefully will continue to be. And but that's just as time goes on. They're going to have young blood coming in, and hopefully they see the merit and the value in what we've done before them, and that they're willing to keep that ball rolling. And I think they will. I think the NESCAC is such a great conference and offers so many things. It would be really tragic for it to lose that sort of thing. And I think that's, knowing our coaching group, I think that's a really strong thing for us. So, but yeah, it's just getting faster, and trying to come up with new ways to be faster than everybody else. And so sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but we're trying something every time, and I think that's everybody's after that.
You guys remember, like this past year, I think I may be wrong on this, but I feel like every school might have been represented in swimming or diving at the national championships, every NESCAC school. And I don't know, that trend continues to move in that direction, where our conference is, across all teams, has some of the best swimmers and divers in the country. And I know it's always been good, but I feel like, Coach, when you were there, I'm not so sure all the schools were represented at the NCAA championship.
Because you could count on schools not knowing they wouldn't be there regardless. It's not going to happen. And then there were those that were guaranteed, but to know that all 11 schools were represented.
I think so. I might be wrong, and I don't want to call out a specific school, but I think we had full representation, which was pretty cool. I mean,
it's close if we didn't. It's
right.
It's at least 10 out of 11.
Right.
That I'm thinking of.
Right. So pretty cool. I it's just a cool conference to be part of. I'm excited to see where it all goes. I don't know. It also stresses me out sometimes, but that's okay.
You're right. When
trying to keep up.
Like the Oberlin, Kenyon,
NCAC.
You can always count on. I love Dick Michaels when he was coaching there, but you can always count on them not being represented at national. They just Grinnell. I mean, a whole bunch of schools. But the Bobby Houck coaching and all the people, Brad at the WashU, they were just people that you knew were going to be regular faces. They were going to be there, and they were there. And then when I left several years ago, I started seeing all these new schools and coaches come on the scene. I was just flabbergasted. Just marvel at some of that stuff.
Well, yeah, that just about wraps up my questions. I want to thank you guys for, joining on and taking time out of your day to talk, and certainly Peter for orchestrating this. So yeah, if you guys have any parting thoughts you want to add just before, I wrap it up here, you're welcome to do so now. But otherwise it's been great. It's been really fun, just learning from you all.
It has been. I'm so happy I'm part of this. I really am. It's beautiful to be part of it.
Agreed. And well done, Seamus. I wish you luck in your other podcasts, but couldn't be more excited to be part of this first one, and especially with the people that are here on this screen, yourself included, Seamus. And again, I would say what a wonderful script was written when I joined the NESCAC, 29 years ago. So I made great friends and been part of some amazing student athletes' lives. So who'd have thought that kid that was flunking out of chemistry at NC State would have had all these opportunities. So, good decision to switch gears.
So yeah, Seamus, thank you so much for doing this, and obviously quite a room full of people here. And anytime you want me back on the podcast, let me know. Happy to do it. I think it's great, and especially if these guys are involved, and it's just happy for you. You're doing this, and wish you much success with it.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, it certainly made my morning, Seamus. Yeah. Just getting to talk swimming and diving with, 4 people I have the utmost respect for. So appreciate it. I was curious, Seamus, you like get out swims, or you yay or nay on the get out swim as a coach?
I love get out swims. Yep, absolutely love that. Yeah, hence the name of the podcast. I was thinking like, what could we? Yep. What?
Either a coach, you like get out swims?
Yeah,
any get out swim stories too to wrap this up would be.
This is good. This is Lily's second year, and we've been swimming for 6 days. 6 days of the season. Mike Felstein, our breaststroker, hated going to workout. He said to me, "Can we have another get out swim today?" I said, "We can't do them every day, Mike. I mean, we gotta swim at some point." He said, "I said, what do you have in mind this year?" He said, "If Jim Lilly can come into practice and break 50 seconds for the 100-yard freestyle, can we all get out and swim?" I said, we'll take a month off if he breaks 50. So Lily comes in, and I got 3 legitimate washes, and this is a true story. I said, "Jimmy, we got another get out proposal here, and it involves you." And he goes, "What do I have to do today?" I said, "Well, we'd like to see if you can break 50 seconds on a 100-yard freestyle with legitimate start, 3 held hand watches." And he said, "Can I at least swim down to the end of the pool and back?" I said, "Go ahead and warm up." He swims 50 yards. He gets out, and this is on my mother's grave. He goes 47.6 in a 100-yard freestyle. He swims October, November, December, January. He goes to March. We're down at some national meet. He goes time in the finals, 47.6 on your freestyle, shades and paper. You look at it, how come I hit? Don't even ask me, Jim. I have no idea. The same freaking time.
Wow. Wow.
That's great.
They're just magical moments. It brings the team together, and nothing better than a get-out swim that works when you're in training down in Florida for a winter training trip.
Got to work, though. It's got to work.
It's got to work.
I know. Otherwise, you're the bum.
You got to give them a time that's just impressive enough, but not so fast that they're going to fail at it. You got to be counting on it. Nothing more depressing than a failed get-out swim.
Yeah, they make me nervous. But
I'm cheering just as hard as the team when the kid's going to get out. So I don't want to deal with the aftermath if the guy doesn't make it.
right.
100%.
Uh,
Gotta bust them out at the right times.
Yep.
Awesome. All right.
Thanks,
Well,
It's a good time for that. Yeah.
thanks. Again, thanks everyone. And it's been awesome.
Bye, guys.
Alrighty.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Good luck. We'll
Have
see
a great
you.
week.
See you guys.
Bye.